DEBORAH Samuel, a female student of Shehu Shagari College of Education, Sokoto, a 200-level home economist, was stoned, killed and burned on Thursday, the 12th of May 2022 by a mob of Muslim youth who accused her of blaspheming on social media against Prophet Muhammad. The daughter of Samuel Yakubu was a Nigerian student who became popular after her death. You've been following us on the show, especially on ECWA Television Africa, all through the week, especially our live shows. We've been concentrating on justice for DEBORAH. I am Sela Elisha Dashon, and with me is Lois Turaki, and she will be giving us a highlight of all the live shows and what we're discussing it. Good evening, Lois.
Good evening, Sela. Thank you. Following the gruesome murder of DEBORAH Samuel on the 12th of May 2022, who was stoned to death and her corpse burned by some mob who claimed she committed blasphemy against Islam in a class WhatsApp group at the Shehu Shagari College of Education, Sokoto. ECWA Television, through the week from 16th of May 2022, focused on #Justice for DEBORAH on all our live shows, beginning with From the Dailies, a program where stories on the national dailies are being reviewed by Tosin Uwolabi and Sela Elisha. They hammered on the fact that the school authorities failed her by not protecting her as the student of that institution, and also the mob were wrong to take the laws into their hands, no matter what. Today's live is a live program on ECWA Television that deals with everyday life happenings. But on the 16th of May 2022, the show took a different dimension on #Justice for DEBORAH by the usual hosts on the show, with the general manager of ECWA Television, Engineer Tony J. Nakale, as hosts, Lois Turaki and Sela Elisha as co-hosts. On the show, we condemned the act on also disrespect to other people's religion, but no one should take anybody's life because there are laws in the land. Watch this.
Well, thank you very much, Tony. You know, the whole thing is very, very confusing. And when you talk about blasphemy, first of all, how many rules or laws do we have in the country? In other words, are we
everybody heard what she said. That to me was not right. She didn't say the right thing, you know. She didn't say the right thing, and I have to say that on TV. She didn't say the right thing. But you see, there are people, because you said something wrong does not mean you should be killed. Does not mean you should be killed. We respect the religion of Islam. We respect that religion. We respect whoever their prophet is. We respect their policies. We respect their guidelines. But let's think about it. The life of a human being compared to a law, and then the law is above the life. Let us remember that every law, if you don't have a life, you can't set a law.
Because human beings,
because you have ended a life of someone that could become a governor in your state, that could become even a lecturer in that same university, that could become someone so influential.
Still on today's live on Tuesday, we had a guest, Reverend Chris Daria, Director, Eternal Love, Winning All Radio of ECWA Elwa, who spoke extensively on the issue #Justice for DEBORAH. He had this to say when asked if the situation happened the other way around. What will be his message?
Thank you very much. My message will still be very, clear on the fact that I'm going to condemn in strong terms this action. Because there is nowhere in Scripture that a Christian has been advised to actually take the life of anybody. We don't have a basis for that in Scripture. Well, some of us as Christians could be able to lay claims to some of the few passages and some of the actions in the Old Testament that happened. But I must say to the New Testament Christian that in nowhere are we even called to pray imprecatory prayers. And what I mean by that is to wish something evil to happen to anybody. Well, Jesus Christ in his own teaching says that if any one of you, has an enemy who is even hungry, What you do to him, you give him food.
Not even friend, enemy.
Not an enemy. You give him food, whatever he's actually looking for. By doing that, you are actually heaping the coals upon the life of that person. Now, Jesus Christ has called us to live a life of peace and to preach peace. What he's asked us to do is to make disciples of all nations. And I tell you, everyone we see on the street is a potential candidate for God's kingdom. God never allows us to kill anybody. He never allows us to even condemn anybody. And so whoever as a Christian that will go to kill a Muslim will never have a support from me. And I'm very sure from all well-meaning Christians will not stand along with him and celebrate him because of what he has done. Because he's doing what God has not actually asked him to do. So we'll we strongly speak against that and ask the law to take its course on that person. Because he has broken the law of the land, he should actually be made to pay, not to pay for what he's actually done. The Bible is so clear that whoever breaks the hedge, him shall the serpent smite. So if you break the law, if you do a thing that is wrong, you should be punished for what you've done. And that will be my message if any Christian does that.
On the same day, we had the ECWA executive, the ECWA president, Reverend Dr. Stephen Panya Baba, the ECWA General Secretary, Reverend Dr. Yunusa Sabo Madu Jr., and the Ecclesia Yanwa and Nigeria EYN president, who was ably represented by Reverend Joseph T. Kwaha on the show #ForDeborah, Justice for Deborah, hosted by the General Manager of ECWA Television Africa, Engineer Tony J. Nakali, where they had a lot to talk about the church in Nigeria and also called out to the government for justice to be served and lives of every Nigerian to be protected at all costs. The ECWA president and the General Secretary condemned the killing, encouraged Nigerians that wherever you find yourself, you should be sensitive to people's religion and avoid unnecessary things that will cause unnecessary crisis.
Well, as far as we are concerned, what happened to Deborah Emmanuel is pure wickedness and evil of the highest order, and is totally unjustifiable and totally condemnable. I believe that even with the audio that is in circulation, there is need to do a proper investigation to really know the circumstances in which she actually said what she said. It's very obvious from the tone of that audio that there was a kind of discussion going on between her and some people, and most likely tempers flared, and a lot of things happened. So the circumstances of what she said will need to be investigated properly before even she can be blamed for saying what she said. That does not mean, of course, that wherever we are, being a multi-religious society, we need to be sensitive to each other's religion and avoid, of course, unnecessary or things that will bring crisis. That one is there. We need, of course, to be sensitive to that.
Well, thank you very much, Tony. You know, the whole thing is very, very confusing. And when you talk about blasphemy, first of all, how many rules or laws do we have in the country? In other words, are we being governed by the Nigerian Constitution or by some religious codes? Because when you talk about blasphemy and the repercussion for it, my understanding is that it should apply to the adherents of the religion. Because what is blasphemy in your religion might not be blasphemy in another person's religion.
True.
And like I was listening to some analysis this morning, in another program where someone said that, you know, even as Muslims, they blaspheme against Christianity almost every time. For instance, we hold very sacred the fact, the virgin birth of Jesus Christ, and also the fact that Jesus is the Son of God. But I don't know of a single Muslim who believes that Jesus is the Son of God. In fact, they will argue that God does not have a child. That's blasphemy against Christianity.
True.
So if you talk about blasphemy, then blasphemy against who and who is committing it. And when you import the repercussions of blasphemy from your religion to another person, then you are crossing the red line. So for me, even in Islam, a lot of clerics, Islamic clerics, have come out to say that this issue of blasphemy shouldn't beget extrajudicial killing, because there are processes that should be followed before you ascertain whether the person has blasphemed. Like the ECWA president just said, I am even not certain. I have my doubts about that voice note that is going around. Because if you listen from the beginning of that voice note to that last line, which is the offensive line, you will discover that there is some distortion in the voice. So how are we even sure that there was no doctoring of that voice note? So there should have been investigation. So I think that where we should lay our emphasis now is the fact that the Constitution of Nigeria, which is the one that binds all of us together, whether you're a Christian or you're a Muslim or you don't have a religion at all, has been breached. A life has been taken. And so we must follow what does the law of the land says. And we have just one set of law of the land, which is the one that stems from the Constitution of the country.
And in the course of the program, we had Sokoto DCC Secretary, Reverend Yakubu Oro, and he had this to say.
That DEBORAH EMMANUEL was killed not because of blasphemy, but because of what she believes. Why am I saying so? In the past, we heard of a Islamic preacher, let me use this word, or an imam.
Yeah, actually, as I said earlier, what happened in Sokoto, it was...
that DEBORAH...
Yeah, actually, as I said earlier, what happened in Sokoto, it was very unfortunate and pathetic. Because even though what happened in Sokoto, actually, when it happens, we are in peaceable, observing our pastors and their wives conference for the 2 DCCs, Sokoto and Kebbi, and we are observing conference there. We received a call when we were there on Friday that there was a crisis going on, that one of our members, in person of Ms. DEBORAH Yakubu Samuel, was grossly accused by the mob. So we tried to make finding what exactly happened. So at the course of findings, we were able to call her uncle, and he told us that DEBORAH called him, that they were trying to kill her, accusing her. She blasphemed against the founder of Islam. And so hearing this, call, he rushed down to the school. So as he reached the school, now later observing what was going on, he quickly left to report to the police station at Arkila. So when he got there, now the DPO over there told him that the school authority would have been the one to report the issue, not him as a person. But he stood and told them that the truth of the matter is a Nigerian, and at the same time he has the right, because it affects him. It was his daughter that was being attacked. So reluctantly they released 2 policemen to the scene with him. And as they left they went there to the school, the 2 policemen observed the situation. And when they observed the situation, they quickly report back to the station that what was going on in the school is beyond what they can control. And there and then, based on the report we received, that the police station at the Arikila called the area command, and then the area command called for more reinforcement at the police headquarters. So the assistant commissioner of police was the one who led the team to the scene. Yes, sir. Yeah, and eventually, when they reached the scene, you know, we are told that DEBORAH was locked in the security man's room, and the one holding the key left the place. And we were thinking actually that DEBORAH would have been rescued by policemen at that moment, because we are told that when the police arrived there, mob was not that much. So they should be able to control and, you know, a kind of help DEBORAH out of the place. But unfortunately, it was after when the entire people gathered from school and outside, they now break the door and then release DEBORAH, and they followed her. So eventually they started beating her, and to some extent that she fell on the ground, on beating her until the time she lost her life. And after that, they continued beating her even at that moment, you know. So after that, they now set her ablaze with her tires. That is it.
Furthermore, Reverend Joseph added his voice and said
that DEBORAH Emmanuel was killed not because of blasphemy, but because of what she believes. Why am I saying so? In the past, we heard of a Islamic preacher, let me use this word, or an imam, who even said something more than this. And he is now free. He was not tried. But as we have said earlier on, that of DEBORAH, we are not even sure of the authenticity of that record. So what we are saying is that the government should also look into this matter critically. And at the end, we want to see justice done. As the General Secretary rightly said that, yes, we say thank you to some of these Muslim leaders that came out to say what was done to DEBORAH is wrong. Some even said the interpretation according to the Islamic law, the way DEBORAH was killed is not supposed to happen that way, because there are better way of handling issues like this than the way that people or the mob handled it. So, in another word, what we want is let also the Christendom stand on their feet, because despite the fact that some of these things have been happening and nothing has been done about it, does not mean we should sit down and fold our hands. Now, we don't know who are the sponsors of these 40 lawyers. Can similar thing also happen in the Christendom? This is what we need to ask ourselves. How did they get the mobilization? How did they get the fee? And why are we quiet about it? Do we have similar structure on ground about this case? Or nothing is done about it? So that is to say, we in the Christendom, we need to wake up. We need to wake up, not to retaliate violently as it was done to us, but we have a better way. If we come together as one body, speaking with one voice, I think the authority of the day will know, yes, that we are here.
They concluded by saying, as spiritual leaders, they are calling for forgiveness and that people need to come to repentance so they will not perish on the last day. And the general manager of ECWA TV in closing said this.
Please be able to find out what the life of an ordinary Nigerian means to any politician before you give them that vote. And you should make sure that the statements they are making to you are concrete before you take that precious vote and donate to people that will not fight for the cause of Nigeria. Look out for patriotic people. And I would like to say that, Deborah, wherever you are, may your soul rest in perfect peace. And may the Lord give your family the fortitude to bear this sad event.
Another show on #Justice for Deborah was The Lifeline, a program hosted by legal practitioners who talk about legal issues and how they can be tackled in the society and the country at large. The program, anchored by Barrister Victoria Yemisi Olaniyan, who is ECWA legal officer, looked at the legality or illegality of the mob action that was taken against her so-called sin against the Islamic faith. She had co-hosts Barrister Stephen Ahile and Barrister Godfrey Matthew. Barrister Ahile had this to say concerning the alleged crime of blasphemy if it is provided for in our constitution governing the country.
Let me start by saying that the constitution is not a penal law, so it does not make provision for crimes.
Okay.
It does not make provision for offenses. We have penal laws. In some years ago, we have the Penal Code of Northern Nigeria that regulated the present 19 states of the North and Abuja. Presently, most of the states have their own penal laws that are peculiar to those states. In substance, most of them are the same, but there are some little variations in some places. The old penal code of Northern Nigeria did not make any provision for blasphemy as a crime or as an offense.
And finally, the Evangel Arts Show was not left out on this as they buttress on the issue #Justice for Deborah. Magdalene Azar, who is the show host, had a guest, Barrister Nathan Ibrahim, who spoke on his opinion on this case and also quoted some legal precedents that stated that these laws are there to guide our conduct. He condemned the act just like every other person on the #Justice for Deborah lined up shows. And as an artist, you can lend out your voice in the lyrics of your songs or whatever creative content you make. Let's watch.
Well, I guess to put things in proper perspective, anyone who heard about it was dismayed. Well, I particularly was dismayed. To speak of, or to say the least, it is quite unfortunate, particularly so that we have laws that regulate our actions in the country. And if these laws are not adhered to, it inspires a state of concern. Now, if a wrong has been occasioned by anybody, what the law actually demands is that the person proceeds to file a charge if it's a civil matter, and if it's a criminal matter, the Ministry of Justice takes charge. Is that okay? But in the case of Deborah Samuel, all we heard, in fact, what we heard was after the act was done, she was already beaten and burned to death. And then, you know, the reports and the details started trickling in subsequently. As an ordinary Nigerian, it tells me that there are situations or circumstances that can engender me to take the law into my own hands. Because if that is a model to go by, it just tells me that anybody who is offended or anybody who is aggrieved by whatever reason can proceed to take laws into their hands, and that's quite unfortunate. Now, what this will spell out at the end of the day is that people will live in a society where it is ruled by chaos. If I feel offended, I take the law into my hand. If you feel offended, you take the law into your hand.
Now I will hand over to Sele as she discusses yet on #Justice for Deborah with her guest. Sele.
Thank you so much, Lois, for that highlight, and do have a blessed weekend ahead. Well, still on #Deborah, we shall be taking a time out where I can have my guests, and together we shall be deliberating and also discussing some of other issues that have been springing out from #Deborah. Do not go anywhere, I'll be right back. Just tuning in, it's still National Talk on ECWA Television Africa, and I'm your host, Sele Elisha Dashun. At this point, I have a guest legal practitioner, Barrister Matthew Godfrey.
Good evening, viewers.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you here again with us, Barrister Matthew. Well, you know, all through the week, you've been part of the Lifeline where we've been discussing on the #Deborah, Justice for Deborah, because it's really, really important that we emphasize on this. This is not just about Deborah, but this is about the life of a Nigerian that was taken in a manner that was not appropriate. And I would like us to kickstart straight to the discussion at hand, because I think what we're going to see is to lend our voice, other voices that have been raised concerning justice for Deborah. Looking at the way Deborah was actually murdered is really not something that anybody will be happy, or a mother or even a sister or a brother will be happy. But there's something that has been running through my mind, and also I think the mind of other Nigerians, is the silence coming from some of our key public holder office, especially looking at those who are aspiring for positions. I mean, it was sad when we saw one of the aspirants, after posting, he took down the post and said, any post that did not have AA does not belong to him. Now, in your position as a legal practitioner, looking at this fact that we had some of our people who were expected to have speak out concerning the #Justice for Deborah, and there have been this long silence looking at the justice for Deborah. What would you say concerning, or like, what's your take about the silence actually coming from some of these key public office holders?
Apart from the silence that's coming from the key public holders, there's also conspiracy and condonation of this act. Atiku Abubakar, purported PDP presidential candidate, sacked his media aide on the ground that the tweet condemning the killing of Deborah was not authorized by him, AA.
True.
The question you asked, there were other tweets that emanated from him, whether they have AA or they don't have AA. He has never sacked his media aide.
Of course.
But because of the peculiarity and the sensitivity of the killing of Deborah that appeals to his religion, he's not able to exercise the secular perception that Nigerians expected of a leader. The question I ask is, if the #1 Muslim citizen in the country, the Sultan of Sokoto, will condemn that, then I ask myself, is Atiku more Muslim than the Sultan? If Buhari can condemn, is Atiku more diplomatic than Buhari? In other way, he wants to appease some of the radicals that are justifying the killings of Deborah, then that is not enough. There's condemnation, a sort of endorsement of the killing of Deborah. A commissioner of Bauchi State, from Bauchi State, came out to say that that position is rationalized in Islam, is justified, and anybody that is not pleased with that statement should go and hug the transformer. That's a comment from a public office holder. A former son of a former Inspector General of Police boldly came out. I saw him in a military, not military, one of the security outfit, stating that this is the real position in Islam. So the question we ask ourselves as Nigerians is that if security personnel are rationalizing or justifying this act, then it goes to show you that the sign language, the body language that was demonstrated during the killing of Deborah, that there were security personnel there and nobody was able to save her or unwilling to save her. It goes to tell you that we are getting it wrong in Nigeria. And other things that people are talking about as whether there's a justification or no justification, I am not really in support of asking for the justification or no justification of this. This is a pure crime. When you kill somebody on the guise of what your religion appeals to you as what it appears to be a position of your religion to somebody that is not a believer, is clearly an affair that is beyond the realm of religion. It is something that is within the competence of the state to address, not your religion.
Of course, because when looking at the hashtag justice for Deborah, I mean, I was looking at the point that Nigeria is not an Islamic country. Nigeria is not a Christian country. Nigeria is the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That means each and everybody has a right. It is stated in the Constitution, I mean, freedom of speech, freedom to go where you feel like going. Now, it seems there is a misunderstanding of religion, because clearly it seems as if it was misunderstood or what she said. Because Deborah is not the first person that was being killed on the ground of blasphemy. We have a case about 27 years ago in Kano, I think Gideon Akulaku, that was beheaded and his head was paraded.
Yes.
And nothing was done about that.
By an eminent Nigerian.
And it was even said that people who were behind the beheading of this young gentleman were not done anything. There was no hearing. There was nothing that was done to them. In fact, it seems as if they were even promoted to some public offices. Now, I don't know, how can we now say we want to get it right in terms of looking at intolerance of religion? Because we have different tribes, we have different ethnicity in Nigeria. And they expected that we should come together to be one, because it's not about your religion. I said it. I feel Deborah is not just Deborah. It's about the life of a Nigerian. So now, how can we now come to the understanding on the grounds of tolerating each other on the ground of religion?
Thank you very much. But I think Deborah personifies an extrajudicial killing in the name of religious bigotry.
True.
If I have my way, I will appeal for NGO, religious and other neutral bodies to immortalize Deborah as an institution that will forever remain, to tell Nigerians and to tell the world that there is the institution of Deborah Yakubu to symbolize, to campaign against the extrajudicial killing by religious bigot, especially our Muslim brothers. That will help forward. There should also be an institution, as we are having organization for Leah Sharibu. Let's have an organization that will be combating. Let it be made up of conscientious Muslims that do not believe in the teachings of what has transpired in the case of Deborah, and also Christians, as well as other religious bodies that want to see freedom and secularism in Nigeria. Let me tell you one thing. When you are talking about the freedom of religion, in the 1960 constitutions, the people that handed over the constitution to us, the colonial masters, they were so sensitive that they don't put freedom of religion. They started with freedom of thought, conscience, before religion. So you now look at it under the 1999 constitution. It's set from a pattern, thought, conscience, and religion, because the thought is for free thinkers. Conscience is for free thinkers and conscientious objectors. Now, religion came in the last line, and you ask yourself, why is it that a particular religion in Nigeria is always at the helm of news because of controversial issues? The issue now, my good Muslim friend should ask themselves, this thing, how does it promote peace? Religion is about persuasion, not compulsion. So when you want somebody to respect your religion, let him see how peaceful that religion can convince him to be there. But how can I get up today and learn that I send my child to go and worship God, to pray for God, and then all of a sudden I learn that he joined a mob that are going to kill an innocent person whom I have not established what has caused? What is the moral base of that religion? Let me tell you one thing. There's a difference between apostasy, okay, and blasphemy. If somebody is practicing a particular religion, and you say that, I am a Christian, if I now say Jesus is not the Lord, that is apostasy, and I could be charged for blasphemy. But if a Muslim says so, it's his own belief. I cannot kill him because he said Jesus is not the Lord. Jesus is not there and resurrected, no. But Islam find it difficult. Our Muslim brothers, especially in Nigeria, find it difficult to condone that. In our laws, the penal law, penal court law, derives its authorship from the Sudan penal court law. It prohibits criticism of religious leaders and institutions with vulgar, disrespectful languages. But we see it here. We criticize them in the name of democracy. I ask my Christian friends, Christians are the most liberal. As far as blasphemy maybe is concerned, in the perception of our Muslim brothers, Christians are the most blasphemous persons. They are the most because a Christian can criticize, condemn his bishop, can condemn even Pope Francis, can condemn his DCC chairman, can condemn his... In fact, even after sermon, I had an experience where I fellowship that they will go and wait for the pastor at the vestry and say, let's listen to the passage you have preached. We want to ask you. They will criticize him.
Of course.
And no Christian has ever invoked a curse, to my knowledge, on his members.
True.
Now, talk more of Muslims, who are our neighbors. They have divergent views with us, and that's why we say we have interfaith dialogue. And that interfaith dialogue, you find out Christians are interacting with them, it flows. Why can't that interfaith dialogue be reflected in their lifestyle? Why is it only a television program that we have interfaith dialogue or newspaper? It is not producing results. And that's why we are challenging our Muslim brothers that the enlightened one have a lot of work to do, because most of these people are victims, and I say it with all sense of honesty. Some of them, they don't know what they are doing, like the prayer that Jesus prayed. They don't know what they are doing. So our Muslim clerics have a duty to sensitize them. Look at the response that is coming across the country from our Muslim brothers in the southern part of the country and from our Muslim brother in the northern part of the country. An Islamic scholar just came and said that, no, you don't execute offenders in Islam through mob justice. You don't do that. You have the scholars, you have the juries in Islam that will now sit and say, okay, let's deliberate on this punishment. If she blasphemed, who witnessed it? Who was there? What did she say? Once you bring a witness, you should afford her the right to say, you said this, are you aware? There's a need for her to know the implication of what she said. So you can't just rush on her with mob justice. And that's why we are saying that it's no. Aisha Yusuf, a Muslim from the south, and just come and ask that if their Muslim brothers can kill for God, why can't they die for God? So there are certain things that you have to look at it. If the Sultan will condemn it, the Muslim lawyers will condemn it. The other Muslim groups and associations came out to condemn it. Then a person that is aspiring for the number one position is playing second hand for politics. We have to know that. Let's be careful. Nigerians want to see leaders that will come out and identify with their plight based on nationalism and patriotism.
Of course.
Not on a particular restricted worldview. Nigeria is a holistic country. Yes, so these are some of the things we are talking about. So when you ask me now to express my religion, We have been the people that we can talk of blaspheming against their religion are the traditional religionists. We even go confront them, preaching, casting aspersion, invoking God on their gods and their religion. Nobody said anything. But when somebody expresses his worldview, if you find any religion that cannot tolerate humanity, there is a question. A religion is meant to tolerate humanity so that it can condemn humanity and translate humanity to the supernatural being. That after here, we are conducting you, we are packaging you to be the supernatural being. If that is the whole of religion, but religion is not an institution of conquest. Once a religion becomes an institution of conquest, it has become anything. Religion is not an avenue for terrorism. It's not meant to prolong terrorism. It's meant to promote peace, unity, and goodness for all humanity.
True, very true. We're live on Facebook and also on YouTube, so you can drop your comment, and our phone lines are open, so we'll indulge you to call us and let us know what your views are. Hashtag justice for Deborah, because that's what we've been looking at so far. I have some comments here and I'd like to take them, and the first one here is coming from Monday Gaius. Bless you, my family. Thank you, Monday. We have honor coming from Anna Kaigama, and she said, great, thank you, Anna. We have from Isaac Mali. He said, good evening. I am Isaac from Sierra Leone, West Africa. I advise the national security has to work very hard in protecting the lives of people in that country. For God's sake, if the lady indeed finds safety in the security post and the people overpowered them and took the lady in broad daylight and kill her, can the security have strategy to save lives? In this case, just one life. Oh my God, very heartbreaking to hear such about Nigeria. At least every year, the lady's death must be avenged to see all those behind the killing should be brought to book. And again, the admin of that particular platform must be questioned because he or she must have been supportive of such an act. We have another comment coming from Solomon David. He said, I love watching Echo Television Africa. May the Lord Almighty God bless and motivate more kind-hearted person who will sponsor your programs. May the Lord Almighty give us the spirit of unity in our dear country. And another coming from David Hall. He said, hello to you too, David. We can see comments have been coming. Lots of people are really of the opinion that justice really needs to be served for Deborah, because if we do not do that, then we will be looking up to a reoccurrence of the same thing happening to someone else. We never can tell who will be the next person if we are quiet about this. And this will actually, lead me to another thing, looking at the justice system. We saw within the week about 34 lawyers that went to defend the 2 suspects that were arrested. And I asked the question, if we have 34 lawyers for 2 suspects, where were the lawyers that were to fight for Deborah? It's not just about those 2 suspects, but her life really, really matters. I mean, we say that what she said was blasphemy. We have the customary law that stated that if it was really blasphemy, then she shall be stated to 2 years in prison. That is if she was actually found guilty after being tried. But we saw the jungle justice actually took place there. Now, if we have 34 lawyers, so I'm asking, what is the justice system presently doing about that? Because we're saying we need justice. That means we need fairness, we need equity, we need equality to be done, because every life matters. We have equal grounds. I don't have to be afraid to school in Sokoto. I don't have to be afraid to school in Borno, because we are all in Nigeria, regardless of whether I'm from the north or from the south. Now, what so far, what is the justice system doing about the justice for Deborah?
The first step taken by the justice system in Sokoto State specifically was to frame a charge prosecuting those that were involved in the death of Deborah for breach of public peace. And as a lawyer, many of my colleagues would allied with me. Deborah was killed. There was no breach of public peace. the killers of Deborah are murderers. They should be charged for culpable homicide in Nigeria.
Okay, hello, we have a caller. Hello, Musa from Abuja. Good evening. Please go on with your comments.
Hello.
We can hear you, Musa. Please go on with your comments.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening, ma.
Evening.
I like the discussion that is going on. I just want to speak up concerning Deborah's issue. Number one, I want to ask a question as a Nigerian. Is Nigeria an Islamic state or is Nigeria a secular state? Because if Deborah has said something wrong, the best way is it to kill her? Is it to kill her? This is very, very wrong. And we will not support that. Because if people do not talk about this issue, before you know, this issue will begin to knock at people's door. That is why we are speaking up loud. We are not talking
okay.
about Deborah is Christian or Deborah is Christian. Even if Deborah is a traditionalist, it is wrong for people to mount and to kill her like that, like an animal. And you see where they are killing a goat. When you see where they are killing a goat, you have sympathy for the goat. Not to talk of human being. You kill a human being and people in Nigeria will say it's alright, that is blasphemy. Is blasphemy a law in Nigeria? So we really need to understand this blaspheming thing. And if she blasphemes, who did she blaspheme against? Is it against God or against the prophet? We respect Prophet Muhammad. We respect him a lot. We are not saying anybody should speak ill or evil about him. But what we're saying is there is a law in Nigeria. If Deborah has done something wrong, let the law of Nigeria take its course, not Islamic law. Please, we need to understand that. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Musa, for that comment.
Yeah, he raised a very fundamental question that appears to cue what I was saying earlier on before the caller came. Deborah is not qualified to be charged for blasphemy. She's not a Muslim. You can only charge a Muslim, a practitioner of that religion, with blasphemy over his God. The origin of the blasphemy is from the French word blasphemer. That's to speak something wrong against a God that you believe in. So when you express your opinion against somebody that you don't believe in, the worst that Deborah will be charged with is offense against religious practices. When you insult a particular religion, you can be tried. It's under the penal code. Blasphemy is an offense under the Sharia penal code in Kano, in Zamfara. It's classified with some other things like zina, which is adultery in Islam, kisa, which is murder. Okay, and blasphemy also fall under that category. Application strictly to practitioners of Islamic faith.
She's not.
You cannot cross over other faith and apply the principle of your religion to kill people. It's not. That's why the scholars that understand, that are imbued with that wisdom, are censuring and condemning what is going on. And those that don't know are busy demagoguing and continue what they've been implicating that this is it. And that's why we are saying that as a way forward, the enlightened one has a lot of work to do to enlighten those that don't know more about the religion. You look at other things from the question that they were asking. When you look at the nature of the church, you find out that there is no intention to do justice. Let me tell you one thing. The lawyers may gather even if they are 100 to prosecute that case. They know what they are trying to prosecute is just a theatric display. But if it is a charge of a murder.
Okay, so we have another. Hello, Musa.
Yes, sorry, I'm calling back.
Okay, please go on with your comments. 30 seconds, please.
All right. I want to appreciate the barrister for saying the truth. In Nigeria, we are not afraid of anybody as believers. We believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. And as we know, we can't fight for Jesus. If anything happens, we allow people, I would say we allow you with Jesus. Right? So I want to appreciate the barrister and Select for doing it.
All right. Thank you so much, Musa.
Thank you, Musa. So these are some of the three cases. Now, there are a lot of people that are calling for justice for Deborah, that she was not. What are the ingredients of breach of public peace? When you say there's a breach of public peace, the victim of public peace is not Deborah. The victim of public peace in Sokoto was the ECWA church that was raised, the Catholic church that was raised, the other places that were touched, the other property that were destroyed. This is a breach of public peace that you can charge them with. But you ask yourself, in the sequence of events, the breach of public peace they were charging these people for killing Deborah with occurred after the death of Deborah. The two people, where is that person that show himself on social media with full devotion and zest that he killed Deborah with matches? Is he alone qualified to constitute public breach of peace? It's an organized, intentional mob action that is aimed at committing murder. So get him, prosecute him, and let him account for his wrongdoing. You can now not take an incident that happened after somebody died, then you qualify it to say that you are charging them for this. That is not. The charge must reflect the date of war. The count must call that use also on Sunday, okay, commit to it. Killing of Deborah and hereby commit is not the reason. The Catholic, the reason of the Catholic Church, the reason of the touching of the cocaine and ECWA and other churches are not the subject matter that is bothering Nigeria. Christianity has witnessed that over a long time, and it has been thriving. In fact, as far as Christianity is concerned, though it is not palatable, but persecution is the seed that progresses.
Of course.
So we've endured it. So the main thing we are talking about is deal with the issue. Forget about public peace. Who are the killers of Deborah? If the murder of Deborah is not reflected in that charge sheet, it clearly means that there is no justice for Deborah. True. And that's why some of us are advocating that individuals should come out and immortalize Deborah. Christianity, I'm not talking from the Christian, let there be institution. When Malala in Afghanistan refused to engage in early marriage, she wanted going to school, she was shot. And Malala became an international figure. She was immortalized. Until we begin to popularize that global campaign that the world will know that Nigeria is using terrorism in the guise of religion, I'm telling you, we are not going further. Sure. Let me tell you one thing again. The Sudan that inspired the penal code law, in 2020, it has abolished the death sentence, even including blasphemy. So where is Nigeria going? Why can't we tell ourselves the truth? And like I said, when we don't address this thing, we're taking it for granted. When we execute people without proof, one day a Muslim lady will be toasted or advanced. Somebody will make advance to her and she will decline. And somebody will want her and she tells again Nabi, and he will start killing her. It's not so until we are able to liaise with the Islamic scholars, the Sharia experts, to see how can we put a limit to this. These people should know where it's closed. There's a limit where a sin starts and stops and where crime begins. As a Christian, whatever you do within the prison or injunction of your religion sanction may not apply to you. We leave it as sin between you and your God. But when you take your religious belief and commit an act that offends the state, that is where sin stops and crime begins. True. So it is the duty of the state to prosecute the crime. And we are calling on the Sokoto state government to do the right thing.
Thank you so much. And I think we have another comment on Facebook. This is coming from Hela Sina Solomon. I said, please, Mr. Barrister, can you please expatiate more what blaspheming is Christianity like? Saying Jesus is not God, not the Son of God. We have never killed anybody for that. Blasphemous, despite that fact that it is worse than anything in the world, even beyond why are they invoking their religion on earth? And we have from Moses Chohu, he said, God bless you all. Thank you so much. I know the comment coming from Solomon, actually, people have asked the question, what if reverse was the case? What if it was a Muslim that says something? And you actually answered it earlier on, because you said so much has been said about Christianity and we've not done anything. We had when El Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State, said if people should condemn the government of Jonathan, then that means Jesus slept with Mary Magdalene. We never said anything about that. We had the CEO of Sterling Bank that came out and said, just this April, he said,
the
Jesus
Easter
has
resurrection.
risen just like the agege bread. And Kant said, we have forgiven, because it's in our nature as Christians to forgive whatever the issue is. But the important thing here is that the life of every Nigerian matters, regardless of what religion you belong to, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a traditional worshiper. The life of every Nigerian matters. And we really, really need to come to that point to know that every life matters in Nigeria.
Let me tell you one thing, Sele. I don't like quoting Bible because I'm so obsessed with it. But I like quoting a Christian historian, a church historian, Josephus. He says that there is nothing that puts the persecutor more distressed than the humble submission of the persecuted. The humble submission of Christianity to persecution in Nigeria is yielding results. I am telling you, there are people from other faiths that are watching. If religion is about God, give me an option. In the secrets of my heart, I know where to go. I may have a public impression of who I am, but in the recess of my heart, I know where I will go. You look about these issues that people are talking about. If you grow up in the northern Nigeria, nobody will not know this song in Hausa when we are growing up. All those things we knew. So it has even become a part of us that you find out that some people are now saying that it is high time to divert ourselves from that philosophy. But we say no, it's our heritage. It's what distinguishes us from other people of the world. You can abuse Jesus, it doesn't make. And if you abuse Jesus, I pray for you. I owe a duty to pray for you as a Christian to see the light. I cannot fight for Jesus. He is not a God that conquers through war. He is a God that conquers through love. So that is the responsibility of a church. And so when you tell people that we should do this and that, it doesn't make. So it is not in our tradition. Everybody has a style of meeting God, but on the last day, there will be accountability.
Thank you so much, Barrister Matthew, for doing this with me. Our time is quite spent, but thank you for making that impact. And to our viewers, we truly, truly want to really, really appreciate you. But remember, no matter your religious belief or social status, we are one Nigerian, and we should value each other. Everything must be done to ensure that the murderers that are not only swiftly brought to justice, but that justice is done. Reoccurrence must also be prevented. Until we come your way again next week, have a blessed weekend ahead.
Politics, government,